The peoples of Micronesia historically never referred to themselves as Micronesian, nor divided the ocean within the boundaries of Micronesia. The modern geographic boundaries of Micronesia are a product of colonial history and were imposed by colonial forces. Micronesia was coined by Frenchman Rienzi in 1831 in reference to these small islands, and it was the Americans more than any other colonial power that embraced and imposed the term Micronesia to apply to the trust territory of the Pacific Islands that made up the former Japanese mandated territories for the purposes of administration. As Pacific historian David Hanlon puts it, for the most part, Micronesia has existed only in the minds of people from the outside who have sought to create an administrative entity for purposes of control and rule. By the way, the Japanese administrators did not even use the term Micronesia to refer to the islands. In the late 40s and 50s, the Americans sent researchers to study the peoples and cultures of these islands, and this gave further legitimacy to Micronesia as a cultural area. Beyond serving as a useful geographic label, Micronesia does not exist as a meaningful cultural area because there is no singular Micronesian essence, culture, and people. The peoples of Micronesia are incredibly diverse with their own unique identities, cultures, and beliefs. Chamorros are very different from Palauans, who are very different from Chukis, who are not the same as Marshallese, etc. Even within these island polities and ethnic groups, there are differences. For example, in Chuk State, Chukis and Fefin are very different from Chukis and Palawats, and many who we label as Chukis don't prefer to identify themselves as Chukis, but rather with their island, village, and clan. Another problem with Micronesia as a cultural area is that it is simply too large and limiting to deal with localized, fluid cultural and social interaction networks in a meaningful way, such as the Solway tribute system, which involved islands such as Yap, Ulithi, Wolai, Lamotrek, Satawal, and so on. Despite Micronesia being a geographic product born out of colonialism and not valid as a cultural area, it doesn't mean we should trash the term or not use it, because the term Micronesia is very useful to create solidarity and pride amongst the peoples of Micronesia. For example, in March 2021, Nicole Yamase from Pohnpei and Chuuk in the Federated States of Micronesia became the first Micronesian and first Pacific Islander to visit the deepest part in the ocean, Challenger's Deep in the Marianas Trench, and her historical accomplishment was a cause of great joy and pride for all peoples of Micronesia. Or whenever people from Micronesia are discriminated against in Hawaii, people from Micronesia embrace the Micronesian label to create solidarity with them. So in a regional identification sense, Micronesia does exist because we are increasingly seeing people from Micronesia embracing and self-identifying as Micronesians, especially considering that Micronesia is now in the official name of a political entity in the region of Micronesia. It seems that Micronesia is here to stay. Seduce Masi for watching. Guahusipulan Esta.